themed zone here, sort of sagging into the handler set. Now in the hands of Dagler. Great find through to Walker. Walker looking for Lumley instead, hangs on to it, opts for Mooring. Mooring out wide to Lumley. Lumley to Mooring. Mooring immediately hucks Devo. That's a great spot and a missed assignment in the backfield, but a perfect throw there. Kai Heidemann bringing that one in. And Roth Mooring, he's showing to be the sort of stay-at-home handler that's working the backfield, but boy, does he have some nice throws. And he just took advantage of a bit of a missed assignment down deep and just ripped a perfect dime there. And that was actually connecting with Jordan Dawes, number 11 for Ignite.
Seeing some great composure here from Ignite, recognizing that they're back on serve, not too worried that they went down a few points at the beginning of the game, and they're getting some major energy back up from the crowd here. I'm almost having trouble hearing myself, and I'm on the opposite side of the field. As I would imagine that is Wicked, the contingent of Wicked there cheering them on.
Yeah, great crowd on hand here at Newton Athletic Park in Surrey, BC. Honestly, we've been around the field site for a few days now, Clay, and it's a great site. And this will play host to the senior nationals in the men's, women's, and mixed division later on this week. And it's a lovely field site. It's a combination of turf and grass. And this showcase field is lovely turf with a huge, bleachers, probably capacity for about 1,000 people, I would say. And I'm expecting for the junior finals tomorrow, the semis and finals, this place to be absolutely rocking. And then for the senior bracket play, I also expect it to be rocking as teams start to get eliminated, heading over to the beer garden, heading over to the bleachers, and really filling this place up. This is a really nice venue for this tournament.
Kev, while we're just finishing up this water break, which are instituted when one team reaches 4, 8, or 12, and the score being 4-3. One cool thing, viewers, if you don't know, that's going to start happening with Canadian Nationals is last year on coming back out of a big weather delay, finals for the senior division were actually held a day earlier on the Saturday and playing under the lights. And this year, one final will be played on the Saturday night of the tournament, and then 2 more on the Sunday. There was a draw for the order. So the order this year open will be under the lights, as you say, on Saturday night. And then it will go women the year after that, and then mixed the year after that. And if that all works out, that could be a rotation from now on. So when you get facilities like this and you're going to be here into the cool evening, on the Saturday night watching the tournament, big fun. So tune in for that, fans, and be ready for some late night watching of the stream.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's going to be cool, but I'm sure it's going to be awesome. This pull drifts out of bounds from Ignite. We get another look at this Nitro offense. Clay, I'm noticing both teams playing kind of a stock horizontal style, but, Ignite has been doing it a little more with their deep game, trying to get those goals in the, 5-6 passes, whereas Nitro has been more of the small ball, getting the disc into the lanes, and then getting good end zone execution. And now we see Ignite come out with their zone and it immediately yields a turn as that throw was just a little low. Wasn't quite right on the money there. And Ignite has a bit of a short field here with a chance to break. Immediate upfield throw. Mateo Marshall looking into the backfield. Nothing doing. Good bail throw there. Good patience as it goes back to Berube. Berube upfield. That's Byrne. Byrne now looking upfield. Goes back to Berube. Some patience here from Ignite. Chip into the middle. That's Marshall. Marshall now looking for Byrne. Oh, and he just spent too much time trying to keep his feet in there and couldn't hang on. Good pressure from Nitro to make sure they got the block. I think, Clay, if he just runs through that and makes a catch, he's on the end zone line, but he's not in, but they got possession still.
Yeah, and then you can turn around and make a flip. That was a really risky, hand block.
Oh, and they get it right back there. Fraser Lyon just reacts nicely to that. He was sort of the top of the cup in the zone and just jumped up and knocked it down. Now they'll have that short field that we were talking about early. Noah Berube with the disc now. Looking upfield. Oh, and a great cut there. Aiden Alexander just went inside out and earned the space upfield, and Ignite gets their second break of the game, and they take a 5-3 lead in this game.
Aiden Alexander, the son of well-known player Derek Alexander, so I'm sure he has about 1 billion release points on all of his throws. It's a genetic thing, right?
Yeah. Derek Alexander, for watching or listening, we're shout out to one of the great throwers in Canadian Ultimate history.
So I'm mad at Byrne right now. Okay, on Ignite, he's number. Well, I can't find it right now, but Byrne is so fast, and he made a great cut out of the stack. Number 10, John Byrne. And then he stopped to try, he got a little greedy. He got his toes set in the end zone and then leaning out to make that catch. Such a risky thing to do in the end zone, right? Keep possession. The end zone is about being chilly. If it takes 10 throws, it takes 5 throws, it takes 20 throws, and you get the goal, that's awesome. But to try and, shorten that by not running through and stopping it, I mean, the speed of Nitro, if you stop to try and receive a pass, Nitro's probably going to, any fast team's probably going to run through, but Nitro is fast, right? And they just showed it. They're like, you're going to stop? Thank you very much. I'll get that run through D. So very lucky for Byrne that his teammate Fraser Lyon was able to get that big block. At least I think it was Lyon.
Well, yeah, and it's a learning experience there for Byrne, but he learned and he didn't get punished as they worked in the break anyway. And he's having a great game, so hopefully he doesn't, take it too hard, and it's just a learning experience. Oh, and Ignite immediately gets the turn. Number 14, Aiden Alexander, after catching the goal, he gets the block and sets them up with another short field, Berube to walk up and collect. Berube looking upfield, wants something around. Instead, he's going to look back to his bail. Disc now in the hands of Gobe. Good roll defense, but came off the top. That's Marshall. Marshall now looking upfield. Goes into the backfield, Berube. Marshall with a give and go. Oh, and a high release there. Now you got Byrne. Gobe.
There it is.
And right around to Byrne. And no mistakes this time as he makes sure his feet are in, grabs the disc, and that's his second goal of the game. And this Ignite D-line is starting to find a little rhythm on O with Gobai, Berube, Byrne, and Marshall kind of cycling off the top of that end zone. If they keep getting short field turns, this team can really cash in.
I believe I just heard that Nitro has called a timeout. Kev, we're seeing Ignite with a lot of composure here, right? They are the top program in their community, which means you have players that likely have a lot of experience. Nitro, second program in the community. I believe a lot of those players have played in high pressure games before, but I do have to ask how. I kind of had a feeling this is exactly how Ignite was going to respond, right? Going down at the beginning of the game. I didn't think they were going to count themselves out. Nitro, on the other hand, I have no idea. I'm just wondering right now, okay, guys, you had a ton of energy at the beginning of the game. Your sideline was so present. Now they've taken a timeout. They're quiet. I haven't really seen them celebrate since Corrido's kind of double happiness. So I'm just wondering, okay, is this a learning experience? Is this something for a team that we haven't really worked on in keeping that composure? Maybe it is just an experience thing. But I'm just curious to see out of this timeout where Nitro's mental game is going to be at.
Yeah, it's one of those things, especially if you have a bit of a younger squad that isn't quite as battle tested, that the sort of maturity, the sort of sport maturity we want to call it, is how do you respond to when things are high and when things are low, and we got to see firsthand that Nitro was like absolutely electric when things were going well and they got an opening point break. But, when you have that sort of super high, super low inconsistency, it can really weigh on the team, especially when things don't go as well. You saw Ignite didn't have a great start, honestly, 3, 4, 5 turns on their first point and then got broken. But slowly but surely, they've shown a little bit more of that battle-tested maturity as they've just kept pretty steady, right? They've had some highs, definitely on their breaks. They've had a little bit of lows, but the lows haven't got to them and the highs haven't sent them off the high dive, so to speak. So I think we're just seeing a more mature team right now. That being said, with the score 6-3, Ignite hasn't run away with it yet by any means, and this Nitro offense has shown that they have the capability to work it up. But really, for them, it's been about when they get inside the opposing team's brick. And when they're inside the brick, their speed and their give-go, their small ball is really paying off. It's about trying to work that first 50 yards, right? Yeah. And we just haven't actually seen them do that with any type of consistency, is working for the first 50. So let's see what they can do on this O point as a big pull sails down into the end zone. Received there. McCauley flips it into the middle here. That's Carino. Back to McCauley to the far side. Great cutting throw there into the middle. Back around now. McCauley has it. Working through the zone. Nice spot in the middle and a good throw. Just raised up at the last second and he couldn't quite bring it down. Caden Fong with a good spot through that zone but couldn't cash in. Ignite immediately initiates. Hits Alexander. Alexander with a low release shot there to Marshall. Oh, Marshall looking for burn. Draws a poach. Instead goes back to Berube. Noah Berube into the corner, and it's that simple sometimes. Jordan Dawes with his second break goal of the game. And this Ignite D-line is really finding their rhythm now, Clay.
Yeah, Berube just oozing confidence out there, keeping that D-line end zone kind of on track, directing traffic. Every single player just turning on the jets. And really good timing out of the vertical stack. Something I'd love to see is that those cuts are set up, those players are in motion just as or just before a receiver, like a handler, is about to catch it. If you're listening, perhaps you'll agree with me, but it is very difficult as someone making a catch outside of the end zone as a handler, turning around, looking at a vertical stack, and all 5 people are staring at me static, and then somebody decides to cut, right? Ignite, on the other hand, they've already set something up, a jab step. They've already got some separation. So that handler turns around, boom, shot in. Ignite has great timing on their end zone right now.
Yeah, and it's funny that both too many people moving and not enough people moving, that's where the problems start, right? And when you have that sort of patience right now, and I think it stems from this D-line offense is really, it's running through Berube in the backfield. And I think when everyone gives him the time and space to get free resets, get the disc back in sort of a central position, then they're trying to time off of that. And that's where you see Alexander, Marshall, Byrne all come out and try to get open. And I think, if there's a little more, I suppose, variety in the backfield, people aren't as sure about the timing, but they really have a sense of Berube's timing, and it's working really well for them right now. Consistency and predictability is often better for the offense than it is more readable for the defense.
Right.
Disc on the far side now, in the middle. Avid and Kwok. Avid and Kwok now facing this zone that's worked very well over the last few points. Disc in the hands of Josh Jang now. Working it around. Berg to Jang. Jang cuts one right through the middle to Berg there. Berg trying to find a hole through this zone. Instead, resets it to Josh Jang. Jang, a little scuba over the top. Nice little spot there, a pocket for Tasman Millen. And he bends one around. Excellent find through the middle there. Anthony Lee. Now with the disc, flips it back. Berg looking upfield. Has an option. Can't hit the break force option. Instead, heads to the end zone is too far out of the reach there for Joshua Jang. Berg had an opportunity to throw a bail to the break side, but it just got taken away by his mark there, number 89, Matthew Millam.
Then just ran out of time, had to kind of make a desperation throw to a little bit of a dancy cut after 5 moves.
Now we have an opportunity to see this Ignite D-line. Looks like they've worked in some of their depth players here. Millam to the backfield. Nice undershot, and looks like there'll be a foul here as there was a little bit of contact. I believe that's Cam Brown, who was coming under trying to make the play on the disc with Avid and Kwok in pressure, in pursuit. Looks like it's going to be an uncontested foul, and it's going to stay with Cam Brown.
I like when players like Kwok there take a minute to ask, okay, how did I foul you, just so I get some understanding so I make the right call here.
Cam Brown with the disc. Kwok on the mark. Brown into the backfield. Aiden Alexander. It's like upfield, there was just a little bit of a collision there. Theo go by.
Was reminded earlier after an injury call, if it's caused by another player, you actually don't have to take a sub.
And nor will he. Go by immediately strikes deep. Alexander to the far side. Oh, and a huge layout effort there and a great block. Aaron McCauley, and he immediately shoots to the end zone. And it's not going to work out as Alexander gets the block there. Just maybe a little bit too much excitement there as McCauley got the huge layout block, immediately picked it up and hucked it.
Yeah, McCauley saw that throw coming a mile away, and just great effort to make that play. But we often see that conservation of energy is probably a little bit more important after making a play.
pardon me, I think that was Tasman Millen with the block and the huck, and immediately a block and a huck again, and this time it's going to work. Nitro capitalizes on a couple of loose turnovers by this Ignite D-line, and their offense, kind of a sketchy hold, but a hold nonetheless as they get back on the board here and trail 6-4 against Ignite.
Did you say 6-4 or 7-4?
I think it's 7-4. Excuse me. Yes. Thanks for correcting me there, Clay.
No problem.
One thing I'm noticing here, Clay, as I watch this Ignite offense march back to their line, they have size. You know, they have size and skill and speed and height, and it looks like an offensive unit that's built in a lab to be able to play at this level, right? You don't always get someone like Roth Mooring, who's over 6 feet tall, but got good hands and good throws, right? That's not that common at the juniors level. You know, you see across the board, this Nitro team smaller for sure. And a lot of their handlers are like quite small, right? And that allows for their speed and pace and give go and all that small ball that they've been able to do around the end zone, but it hasn't paid off to the middle of the field. This team, this Ignite team, they've got a lot of size, you know, stapled by Roth Mooring, who's the tallest on the line. But, you know, they also have Kai Hindeman. He's no slouch. They have Owen Dagler, right? He's tall, rangy. He's got good throws. When you combine that sort of skill and size, it's just difficult to play D against, right? It's tough to identify mismatches. It's tough to identify, and easier for the offense to actually attack the deep space as well.
Yeah, Carter Walker, another one that has been using his size in this game to his advantage. And it's just the other thing, too, I want to highlight in that it's not as if they're trading height for speed either, right? They're that tall, and they're fast.
Here comes the pull by the Nitro D-line. It's going to drop in. Berube is going to flip it to, and he's going to go right away to the end zone, and it's to Dagler. Oh, my goodness, and a layout grab by Dagler. Unbelievable. A shot from Mooring all the way to the end zone, and that's a momentum play to take half here, Clay, as Dagler sails through the air, keeps his feet in. Heck of a catch there as the Ignite sideline pours over to congratulate their teammates.
Speechless. That was amazing. Dagler was gone. As soon as the pole was picked up, he took off. He outran his check. He outran the last back to make a huge athletic play and to take half, no less.
And you saw that play there. It was a set play situation there, right? Berube just flipped the centering pass to Roth Mooring, and he just had eyes for Dagler only, who made his move and took off to the goal line. Thrown early by Mooring, just enough touch, and a spectacular grab by Dagler. Exciting play here at Newton Athletic Park in Surrey, BC, as Ignite from Ottawa takes half against Nitro from Vancouver, 8-4. We'll be right back after a little bit of a halftime break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, ultimate fans across the country, across the world, to this quarterfinal action from CUC 2023 at the Newton Athletic Park in Surrey, BC. We are watching Ignite versus Nitro. Ignite from Ottawa, Nitro from Vancouver. Ignite taking half on an absolutely thrilling play. Owen Dagler laying out full extension, towing the back line, and really giving momentum. I'm Kevin Underhill in the booth with Clay Howlett. Clay, as Ignite set to pull here, just walk us through what that last play meant for the momentum of this game.
Dagler basically decided to run past everybody on a set play, beat his check, beat the last black, and made a huge bid, a very poignant start to halftime, going up 4 points after going down in the beginning of the game. Really sets the tone that Ignite is in control.
So right now we join this game just out of halftime. The score is 8-4 as we see Nitro's offensive line try to work in a hold here against Ignite zone defense. Disc in the middle of the field in the hand of Braden Young. A little bit of wind kicking up here in the second half as Ivan Young, and a great spot there. Young goes right down the middle. Oh, wow, nice hands there too. That's Enoch Liang. That was Daniel Lee shooting to the end zone, but couldn't connect with his target. And that's a turnover, and Ignite has a chance to break right out of half here.
Byrne getting in the way of that pass, arms extended while he didn't touch it. That sort of pressure could have even thrown off Mans to look at that. So really good to be present. Always a presence D is still a D.
Berube shoots to Marshall, and he can't get both hands on it. An immediate turn. And this is where we've seen this Nitro team excel so far today, is in this end zone set. You already see Sean Carino walking up to the disc, and you can see he's got Braden Young in the backfield. And they're just going to go, and an immediate shot to the end zone, and they connect again. And out of all the goals they've scored, almost every one has been an end zone shot. It looks like the receiver there went down in a heap. Unsure if it's just a cramp or if it's an ankle roll. So there's a lot of people around him right now. We'll get to the result. That is going to be a goal for Nitro, as they showed their clean offense in the end zone as well. We'll get to the name of the downed player in just a second here.
We'll get credit for that goal. Nitro's got seeming their own medical or training on site, which is fantastic. And Kev, hey, so like you said, I mean, we've seen Nitro have a lot of success with their end zone set. I really enjoy watching Carino just set up and strongly drive with his legs to get the give goes in the front of the stack, cutting and everything. And, they did find holes that time in an Ignite zone. They found ways up the middle, and then they had it on the doorstep. They did get all the way up, right? Like, we were wondering, can Nitro get it all the way from one end of the field to the other? And they did this time, and then didn't connect on their first end zone shot, just with a good defensive kind of get in the way play by Byrne. But, this time they went the distance, albeit a turnover, but they can get it down the field, seeming unfazed by that Ignite zone. It looks like we're back in business, Kev.
Yeah, the injured player has been carted off the back. From my best look, it looks like a cramp, as the medical staff seems to be stretching him out. So all hopes that he is fine and able to get back in the action. It's definitely a possibility for cramping out here. It's high heat. If you're not playing, if you're not drinking water and electrolytes, you can find yourself cramping, especially at the junior level. They may not be as experienced coming out for these long, hot days. So hopefully he's all right, and we'll get to his name in just a moment, because he did capitalize on that offensive hold. And now Nitro with a chance to pull and see if they can get back in this game.
So the conditions right now haven't really been playing an effect in this game. Usually the wind here at Newton has been picking up later in the day, but right now it's just quite calm.
Now we get to see the first possession of this Ignite offense in the second half. And again, it's mooring right to Dagler. Dagler looking upfield, just a little bit out of the reach. Oh, and great defensive pressure there. Tasman Millen with a good job getting over that and collecting the loose disc. Now Nitro has a chance to break. They shoot right up the middle. And an immediate huck. That one's going to hang. Looks like a pick called, and it's going to drift just out of bounds as Millen crashes into the fence. Looks like he's all right.
Glad he's all right. I mean, Millen, I was going to say, he made some really athletic, putting his body on the line for defense. Now does so on offense. But if you're listening out there, young viewers, and you want to learn to play, please don't crash into the fence. Just don't do it.
Enoch Liang there with the disc just really wasn't looking anywhere else, and he kind of used up his stall count and then just ripped it. Not a bad look, honestly, because Millen was open, but at the end of the day, just couldn't quite connect. Dagler now comes under out of the horizontal and gets it. Looking upfield, on the far side there, that's Lumley. Fletcher, rather, into the backfield. And just a low shot there. Believe that was Carter Walker just trying for an around and just kind of got stuffed down by the wind and couldn't connect. And this Nitro D-line has another chance to walk in a break. Joshua Jang collects at half field. Jang looks upfield, looking for Liang. Hits an under for Liang and just behind his receiver. And that's knocked away by Fletcher, who immediately strikes to the end zone trying to stretch out this defense. And then they're going to get settled in their horizontal set with Dagler on the close side. Hindeman in the middle. And that's number 92, Lucas Tyman, who starts things off with an under. Tyman hucks it. Plenty of players in the area. And it's received by Fletcher as he goes up in the pile and brings it down. It's number 39, Jeremy Fletcher, just had the best read on it, and he got up in a big group there. Sometimes it's tough as a defender to work your way into the middle of that pile and actually get up and make a play. It looks like Fletcher had just established good position and almost kind of boxed out 3 or 4 different players, and the disc fell right into his lap, and he went up and snatched it out of the air.
And Fletcher doing his best impression of a fire hydrant there. I mean, he was not the tallest guy in that pack of players, but just like you say, to box everybody out and get the best position. Way to stick with it.
One thing I'm noticing in this game that feels like it's making the difference to me is that Ignite is just making the plays. And by that, I mean, they're the one coming down with the big skies. They've had 2-3 big layout goals, right? They've had big blocks in their own end zone that they've translated into goals going the other way. It's when you're looking for momentum building, obviously fundamental ultimate and working up the disc and scoring is great, but sometimes you just got to have players that make plays. And there's an example right before half was Dagler with the huge layout catch. That's just a play, right? And then you have number 39, Jeremy Fletcher, boxing out what seems like the whole team and making the play there too. And when you have a team like Ignite that has finals aspirations, sometimes players just making plays, it's a big deal.
It is what puts you sometimes above the 1 or 2 points you need over another team to win, right? I mean, Nitro has made some plays. We've got number 11, I mean, Tasman Millen, making big plays, right? But unfortunately, those plays haven't been in the end zone, bringing it down when they really need to. Big layouts there. He's been getting the Ds for his team, but those conversions, we've seen a really clinical, crisp offense from Nitro, but we haven't seen too many big plays on offense that are just kind of Ignites going their way right now.
Berube with a huge pull back in the end zone. Now Carino has it on his own end zone line. Facing this Ignite zone, see if Nitro can work it up to full 75. Nice little rip around there. That's a nice shot there by Braden Young. Young works it up to McCauley. McCauley goes over the top. That one's going to sit. Excellent find there. Daniel Lee now, all kinds of space, but no one to throw to. He looks over the top. Throws a little scooper into the backfield. Who back out after injury. And Carino just a little casual there trying to make that catch. Ivan Hu was the player that got hurt and cramping, but it's great to see him back out in the field, Clay. And unfortunately just couldn't connect there with Carino as Carino just took his eyes off the disc for a second. Byrne with the disc now in the middle. Byrne flips it back. Theo Gobey. Gobey upfield. Connects well there with Marshall. Marshall with Gobey in the backfield. Opts for Berube instead. This is where Ignite does their best work with Berube in the backfield. Shoots it all the way around. That's Aiden Alexander. Alexander now identifies a target, looks upfield. Now it's Gobey. Gobey again looking for Marshall. Instead goes to Berube. Wants to run the give-go. Nice little switch and roll there by the Nitro D. Berube around to Alexander. Alexander back to Berube. Berube looking for Byrne off the top of the stack. And instead goes back to the middle to Gobey. Go by. Low release shot there to Marshall and see if they can capitalize. It's Byrne again. His third break goal of the game, and he is having himself a absolute heater this afternoon in this men's quarterfinal.
Byrne, speed out of the vertical stack has just kind of been unstoppable. But there, Kev, I mean, we saw a really patient vertical offense. Gobe, Alexander, Berube content to just flip it back and forth until they saw something they liked to move it upfield. And that patience, I know we tend to kind of sound like a broken record, but we're like, hey, in this division, sometimes we don't see that sort of patience in the end zone. So to see that clinical driving, let's say, by the handlers in the backfield there, it just gave them the total opportunity.
Yeah, and like we talked about before, and like you just alluded to there, Ignite running sort of like a patient top 4 package in their end zone offense, right? They had Theo go by, they had Noah Berube, and then they had kind of the speed upfield Mateo Marshall and Byrne finishing with Alexander also in the backfield. So almost like a 5-person package, but really with Marshall and Byrne coming out of the stack. So they had this 3-handler set at the top, running the give and go, being very patient, and then they have an opportunity to capitalize as Byrne and Marshall kind of fly out of the stack. And when you have that patient offense, it's like, it's truly selfless when you're in the back of the stack there, or if you're Mateo, if you're Marshall, and Byrne just kind of patient, right? And then taking your chance to go have a chance to get a goal, right? But sometimes you're in that position where you're just at the back of the stack, not doing anything, but really by not doing anything, you're helping the whole team. So seeing that patience is very impressive at this level.
10-5, so it's not an insurmountable lead for Nitro to catch up, and they do have a half hour to do it.
McCauley now with the disc, and this is that zone, the sort of 3-person cup with the 3 in the mid and 1 deep that has been doing really well as they hang one up. An big man coming from the back, number 41, Roth Mooring, and he's going to call a foul on the physical contact there. Mooring deep in the zone, reading that huck by McCauley and coming under and making a play.
So, Kev, I'd like to point something out here. That sort of contact, we've been talking about minor contact, moderate contact, major contact. A good, Falcon, no contest, and we see a card come out here. So Mooring is getting that PMF, a personal misconduct foul, probably because it's on a dangerous play. He made that D, but the thing is, whether he got the disc first, before or after, but because it was, in this case, because seeing that card come out, major contact ensued, especially on a blind side from behind number 20 on Nitro there, Lee, that is illegal, and it is a dangerous play. So we see Mooring getting the yellow card for that. He seemed to know, he didn't contest that foul immediately, so Lee will get the disc. Play will continue.
A drop in the end zone gives this Ignite D-line, kind of loaded up Ignite D-line with a chance to get a break, and a big one at that. Mooring goes into the backfield for Marshall. Marshall, a little round shot there. Beautiful throw. Etienne Merizi now in the middle and can connect there. Had his target, Dawes, but just a sort of a missed throw there. Now you see Berg walk up to it and this is where we get a chance to see where Nitro has really excelled with their offensive end zone. Berg looking upfield, opting to the backfield. Really nice cut there. Braden Young. Young back to Berg. Pump fake out of the stack. Big patience. And again, this is where they've done a good job. McCauley and an around, and that's a great completion there. And well executed, finished by John Leung. And again, Nitro with patient offense around the end zone, capitalizing.
And part of that patience has not been to remain unfazed by that zone. They keep finding that sort of around the cup throw. I think Ignite wants to force that. So plays like the one Mooring was trying to make can happen. Obviously, that one too dangerous, but they're looking for that disc. Ignite wants the disc to pop up in the air so they can make a play on it. However, that hasn't happened yet. Nitro keeps finding that those around holes are through the middle. And then, like you say, as Ignite melts into that match defense, still showing that patience in the end zone to get the goal. We've got one update. for you right now, just coming out of other quarterfinals. Team Manitoba playing Origine. Team Manitoba currently leading 7-6. I imagine they've taken their halftime at this point. It's hard to say. Hopefully it's not like last time where their halftime came into the game with 7 minutes left in the actual game time. So I'm just going to go on a whim here and say they've taken their halftime.
Yeah, and that's interesting to hear that Manitoba has the lead against Origine. Origine yesterday went 3-0, including a win over Manitoba. So perhaps Manitoba learning a little bit from that. Manitoba was the number 1 seed coming into this whole tournament. And I think, the other team showed that they were equal to the task as Manitoba dropped all 3 of their pool play games. But here's the thing. When you're in those top power pools to start the tournament, you can't get eliminated until the crossover bracket. So here we are in a quarterfinal where Manitoba has a chance to get right back into the semis where they felt like they belonged. They just didn't do it yesterday, but they're doing it on day 2 right now. Ignite working it up very simply with Mooring and Berube. Berube now coming off the close side. It's Dawes. Dawes looking upfield, little upline shot. Perfect spot there. That was. This is Timon with the disc right on the goal line. Takes a little bit of contact on the mark. Looking upfield, and it's Dagler just keeps his foot in, so calm, so clean. And this Ignite offense is really taking command and a stranglehold of this game. If their D-line's not getting breaks, their O-line is working it up and cashing in.
Yeah, and that's the sort of control you want to have in a quarterfinal because you don't want to let the other team gain any momentum. So we're going to get another update for you shortly here. And here it is. So we've got the Vortex is currently leading Toro 10-6 in their quarterfinal. And if we get the last update for you between Dino and T10, as soon as we get that, we'll let you know. Manitoba just took a 2-point lead over Origine, 8-6 now.
And that's got to be a tough draw. I'm looking at this bracket, Clay, and Origine coming in from Quebec City as the 4 seed in their pool yesterday, winning their whole pool, beating Manitoba, right? Taking down Vortex, taking down this Ignite team, and then drawing a quarterfinal against Manitoba, the true number 1 from the original seeding. That's just a tough draw. At the end of the day, if you want to win this tournament, you have to beat good teams along the way. But I'm sure if you were drawing up a dream scenario for Origine winning their pool, they would not have the number 1 seed as their quarterfinal matchup.
No, and I mean, that's sometimes the way it works out, right? It's never enough to say, oh, yeah, just because we beat a team once means we should get the credit. So, I mean, if you want to be the champions, you can beat the defending champions twice, right?
So it would seem. And right now, all eyes on this Ignite and Nitro matchup. Ignite leading 11-6 and are in for full control of this game at this juncture. Macaulay with the disc now. The Ignite has played this zone for the majority of the game and all of the second half. You see Berg and Macaulay working it up. Working with Leung. Macaulay, a little blade over the top. That's going to work over to the top. Braden Young, snappy upfield shot there. Good spot to Leung. Leung with Macaulay and Young in the backfield. Little floater over the top to Berg. Berg snaps it to the middle. It's Leung.
Kevin, I'm really noticing way more active defense in the mids to try and stop that big around throw.
Oh, but Macaulay just too precise. So he gets the disc on the close sideline and spikes a forehand in over top of the defense. And Nitro not going away easy.
So as I was saying, the big OI around deep throw that they were taking away, just they have scored with that throw. But, initially, Ignite seemed they were way more active on the short ones. But, Nitro seeing those gaps still on the wings and able to catch a wing, kind of looking at the disc. I think it was Berube looking at the disc and then extend deep while Byrne was occupied with another player. Kind of smart cutting by the wings and the poppers out there to try and make more room and take an easy one.
But yeah, and a precise throw. Macaulay gets the flip through the zone, and he looked at it once, he declined it, and then the next time he got it, he just dropped it over the top of the defender.
All right, so right now Dino is leading Titan 8-4. in one of our other open quarterfinals.
So just to catch you up on the action in the men's quarters here, we've been talking a little bit about it over the last few minutes. We're getting updates. Right now, Manitoba is beating Origine. Obviously, you're watching this game on the stream. Ignite is beating Nitro 11-8. Toro is losing to Vortex. Vortex has a commanding lead in that one. And Dino is taking down T10, as you saw on the stream yesterday. They're, again, making that happen. So if all were to stay put here in this division, we'd have a Manitoba, Vortex, Ignite, Dinos in the semis. Probably not too far off with what you'd expect, although it may not have happened in the way you'd expect it to happen. As we rejoin this, Ignite's O-line has an uncharacteristic turnover down the middle of the field looking for Dagler, and this Nitro team, I mean, has a chance here to take over and get a break here. Excuse me for reporting the score wrong. 11-7 Ignite leads in this game right now.
Seeing that quick movement that we've talked about from the handlers in Nitro here, but Ignite taking a lot of the downfield away.
Yeah, and right now it's Kwok and Jang in the backfield. Heck of a catch there. Enoch Liang extends and keeps his feet in. He's looking upfield now. He's got Millam. Instead goes to the backfield. It's Jang. Joshua Jang here has a chance to work it up. Looks upfield, has absolutely no handler support, so needs something out of the lanes, and it's just not there as he had his target, Matthew Chung, but just no support in the handlers set there and really had to opt for a tricky upfield throw.
Yeah, and that tricky upfield throw kind of has been the bane of Nitro's game today. That's the story on their offense.
Mooring picks up on the sideline. Immediate huck to Dagler in space, and Mooring has been fabulous at hitting those deep shots. Now Dagler right on the goal line, and he's going to connect for the goal there. Kai Hindeman, his second goal of the afternoon, cashes in, and Nitro had the disc with a chance to go 11-8, and instead it's 12-7, and that's a big difference, Clay.
Huge difference. We've got not too much time remaining in this game. The cap will be at 1:55. So that's about 17, 18 minutes from now, depending on the seconds. And Kev, I mean, the story for me developing this game is between our brick marks. The middle part of the field between each brick is where Nitro has been struggling. Those hard, edgy outfield throws just haven't been connecting for them. Once they get into that red zone, no problem. Do they need to be chilly moving it out of their own end zone? No problem. But once they get in the middle, they seem to be really struggling to get 2-3 connections just to get momentum, and just turfing a lot of that kind of same third under throw.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's a lack of patience. We've seen just a rushed throw here, or the eyes light up and they try to make something difficult, right? They've been abandoned. Their handlers have abandoned them as they move through the midfield. And, if I'm a coaching staff right now in Nitro, I'm almost trying to ask my team, hey, you know how you play end zone? Just try to have a little bit more of that energy in the midfield play, right? Around their own goal, they have a lot of handler support. Around the opposing end zone, they have a lot of handler support. But in the midfield, they're really queuing in on the upfield for 6, 7, 8 stalls at a time. Whereas, honestly, if you get the disc out, especially into the side thirds, if you can't see something upfield in the first couple stalls, let's get that disc off the sideline and get it back into the central position, right? Because right now, what you're seeing is the disc getting trapped on the sideline, difficult throwing conditions, and just not being able to connect with those upfield throws. So, there's a lot of positives here to identify for the Nitro coaching staff, but there's that middle chunk of the field that you've identified that they really need to work on.
So a little bit more end zone in the middle is what you're saying to kind of change things up. Dude, I think you're ready for Masters.
You'd be surprised how ready I am, Clay. Berube with the big pull here. They lead 12-7 Ignite over Nitro in this game. Big hanger here. Berg collects, flips it to McCauley. Zone defense once again for this Ignite squad. Berg with the disc, looking upfield, looking through the middle, opts for a backfield decision, goes to McCauley. McCauley spikes a forehand right through the gut to Carino. Nice shot there. McCauley's carving up this zone with his throws. Carino, back to McCauley, and McCauley, great throw over the top. It's Lee, and Lee looking upfield, and he decides against it, and then he goes to the middle of the end zone. Great spot that is, and a beautiful hold. Daniel Lee finding his Yeah, Daniel Lee finding his target in the end zone. And again, it's just the McCauley show. He's threw two beautiful forehands there to open things up, and they were able to work it up. Nitro showing a couple of good poised offensive points in a row.
I love that decision-making by number 20, Lee, there when he had man open in the end zone. Lee really went against the grain of the trend we've been seeing where man was open in the deep. He could have thrown that forehand, which would have allowed man's check to catch up, and it probably would have 50-50 ball. He gives him the pump fake, but keeps looking at him. Man recognizes it and streaks to the back-end side, and then Lee just drops that dime in there for him. Like, really smart, patient decision-making, and seeing that I don't need to throw this goal on stall 1. I can throw it on stall 3. No big deal, right? So hats off to Lee there for that patience.
Quality offense by both teams here is kind of the theme of the second half, Clay. Nitro just hasn't quite been as sharp like we talked about, especially covering through the middle of the field. And to be honest, they're suffering from some of those short field turns that they gave Ignite earlier in the game, right? Ignite, when we talk about cheap breaks, we talk about where the other team didn't have to actually grind that hard for the breaks. They didn't have to go the full 70, or they didn't have to put in a lot of work on defense, right? Ignite had a few where they got the turns by the brick or even earlier, and just 2 passes later had a break, right? So Ignite probably not feeling amazing about those ones earlier, feeling like maybe they let those get away. I do think, as we talk about this game script as a whole, Clay, I do think the better team has the lead right now. And it's the team that's a little more physically imposing, has a little bit more skill depth. And at the end of the day, later on in these tournaments, as you get into the bracket play, that's the depth is what really winds up mattering, right? And so, players on this Nitro team who just came out of a universe point crossover to play up into the quarters, right? Players like Carino, McCauley, Jang, Kwok had to really lay it all on the line to win that quarterfinal game, or that pre-quarter, I should call it. Whereas I have a feeling this Ignite team, as they march past Toro, close game nonetheless, and obviously getting this better matchup, but probably just with the depth that they have, didn't have to rely so much on their dogs, right?
Right. Like players like Brube, Dagler, Mooring, probably got a little bit, still played that game, I'm sure, staying fresh, but probably had a bit of a break that game. Didn't have to be out there for every O point or D point, respectively. So, yeah, depth goes a long way, and especially for a team like Nitro too, when once again, when you're like the second team in a program, your depth is already impacted by that fact.
Yeah, and shout out to this Prime Ultimate Club. They have Dino, which is the top team out of Vancouver. They're playing against Titan in a quarterfinal right now. And this Nitro team making the quarterfinals against Ignite here. That's 2 teams from the same club making the quarterfinals. Other double ups you see is Origine from Quebec City and Titan from Montreal. So 2 Quebec teams in these quarterfinals as well. Vortex, obviously, from the Fraser Valley. So 3 BC teams, 2 Quebec. And then you've got Manitoba, Toronto, and Ignite, 2 Ontario teams, and a Manitoba team. So I would say almost a stock quarter that you might expect to see. And I'm excited to see what the semifinal matchups wind up being. We join Ignite back on offense here, seeing if they can keep this game clean. Dagler climbs the ladder for that one, flips it to the far side. Oh, and just a little miscue there as Carter Walker shot it into the middle for Hyman. Hindeman. And just we're going different directions with that throw. Nitro with a chance to break late in this game. Big bid there. Looks like there's a foul called. Not going to be contested, and the disc's going to get tapped right back in. And immediately shot to the end zone. Is that going to hang up enough? Oh, in and out of the hands of number 41, Anthony Lee, as he actually found a pretty good spot there. And the throw was right on the money. And there's been those sort of drops in both end zones for Nitro, and I know they're going to want all those back as they look forward in this game.
Just an experience thing that's going to happen to you in your ultimate career several times before. You're always feeling like this will never happen to me again. I have the confidence, but still finding the lanes to get open, still making the throws that count.
Dagler here to Fletcher. Back to Dagler. Dagler looking upfield, flips it back to Mooring. Mooring gets up for that one. Finds his target in the midfield. That's number 42, Charlie Lumley. Lumley now. Looking in the backfield for Mooring. Mooring goes around. Nice dump and swing motion here to Hindeman. Kai Hindeman looks upfield. Dagler always shredding under for these big undercuts. Goes into the backfield, Lumley. Lumley, beautiful around shot there to the far side, Walker. Carter Walker now looks upfield, surveys what his options are, goes into the backfield for Dagler. Dagler serving as a handler now, and he's going to shoot deep, and it's brought down there by Fletcher. Fletcher looking upfield, right on the doorstep here, has a chance to work it in, goes to Mooring. See if they can set up that patience offense. And Mooring goes all the way around, and too easy for Kai Heineman. So they've just been pretty clinical around the end zone.
Very. I mean, and we've said this a few times now, just so composed and willing to take the easy passes until they have an opportunity to throw for a goal that itself is easy as well. Ignite is not punching it in, lasering it in, trying to force it in, if you would. I'm curious, Kev, right now. I'm just seeing something happen on screen there. A little discussion with the observers in the Ignite team. I believe it was likely on that defensive bid, as Ignite has had a few instances where those bids are coming from behind receiving players.
Yeah, and Clay, talking about this game as a whole, one thing I'm starting to sort of feel when you look at this game, you see the score is 13-8, sometimes you feel like a score is representative of the game. Like yesterday in the women's game that we were doing, it felt like the score actually wasn't representative. It was like a pretty big blowout, but the game felt pretty balanced, right? This 13-8 feels like a really true 13-8, should I say, right? Ignite hasn't actually gone on any huge runs, right? They've never scored more than 3 in a row in this game. Neither team has, to that fact. And it's just been a break here, then a couple holds, then a break there, another couple holds. And having that sort of command and control over the game, it's a pretty terrifying pace. They have not got broken in the second half. They've been very, clinical in offense. And as Nitro, it's so difficult to close that gap when the gap's just 4 points. 4 points.
Yeah.
4 points.
Nitro won't go away. They're not willing to, roll over, but Ignite at the same time, not willing to let them back in.
Now we join Nitro on offense. Now it's going to be a person-on-person matchup. They go away from their zone. It's going to be Berg with the disc working in the backfield with McCauley. It's a nice undercut by Mann. Well received. Mann looks upfield. Breaks the force into the middle. We've got Daniel Lee with the disc now. Lee looking upfield and just lost control of that forehand. Tried to rush it a little bit too much. Had a target open in Mann, but just a little bit impatient. And again, trying these same third hucks is just very challenging, especially in these conditions. And Daniel Lee rushed it a bit there.
The wind direction right now is moving right to left and from the top to the bottom of your screen at a diagonal. So that throw was immediately picked up by the wind. A tough one to make in that same third, especially with the conditions.
Disc in the hands of Berube now. Berube goes up the middle to Mateo Marshall. Marshall shoots an under here. Marizzi with the disc, back to Berube. Berube looks upfield, goes inside to Marshall. Nice little combo cutting there. Marshall breaks the force into the middle. Beautiful spot there to Alexander. Alexander goes right down the middle. An immediate upfield breakaway. Marshall working well with Go-By. Go-By going upfield. Marshall declining to look at that. Instead, Berube in the backfield. Berube back to Marshall. Berube cuts upfield. Now it's Marizzi in the middle. Excuse me, that's Heineman. Heineman back to Marshall. Had to make sure of that one. Looks to Alexander off the top of the stack. Instead goes into the backfield. Now it's Marizzi. And Marizzi calls a timeout. Again, we've seen this patient offense out of this Ignite D-line. It's a real wear you down style of Ultimate they've been playing all game.
Particularly Marshall on that point. A lot of cutters were beating their check, but it was kind of happening late and telegraphing the choice that could be made to the rest of the team. And Marshall seemed to recognize that. In one instance in particular, I saw Berube go up the line. He shook his guy. He's open, but then it seemed the circling sharks of all the Nitro defenders were just waiting for that throw to go up. Marshall recognizes it, takes an easy dump around generated by those Nitro players trying to jump on that. And he just did that 3 or 4 times in a row there to just, keep the disc in possession. Let's take our time. Let's take the 100% shots right now.
Yeah, and when I work with young throwers that are, like capable handlers that are seeing the field, I give them a 3-part checklist. 1, the player has to be open against their check. 2, the player has to be open against everyone else in the field. And 3, you have to be able to feel like you can hit the throw, right? And I feel like you're exactly right. Marshall, maybe he had ticked off a couple of those boxes, but there was so much traffic down there that his target may not have actually been open against the field, right? And so he declines it, goes back into the middle, ultimately calls a timeout. And honestly, I don't mind that. When you're with the clock and you've got the big lead, you may as well call a timeout here, regardless of what this yields. And I think this patience is paying off. So we join the disc here. Charles Etienne Maritzi with the disc now. Berube in the backfield. Early stall count. Let's see what they can do here. Oh, an immediate cut, and Alexander makes the most. Just a pure set play off the back of the stack. Alexander rips out to the break side, then splashes across the front of the vertical and catches it. Excuse me, that was not Alexander. That was Theo Gobai. Great cutting there by Theo Gobai.
Yeah, that upside down 7 cut, hard to defend with a speedy player like Gobai. So at this point, we've got about 4 minutes left until cap our score of 14-8. Foregone conclusion at this point. You know, I don't think Nitro's getting back in this one. Ignite.
It is safely through to the semifinals here. They're going to play the winner of Dino and T10. I think that Ignite Dino matchup, should it go that way, should be an absolute barn burner, as both teams have played well this tournament. Ignite winning their pool yesterday, and Ignite coming second in their pool yesterday. I think that's like a true 2-3 matchup. I like that a lot. And over on the other side, it feels like a total bloodbath. I think Vortex is beating Toro right now, but Origin and Manitoba. We'll try to get to the updates here as we finish up, but that feels like it could go either direction. And no matter what two teams come out of those matchups, that's going to be a heck of a semifinal as well. Things are really shaping up here in the junior men's division.
If I'll do a little homework in our next game here, Kevin. If we don't get the score updates right away on the internet documents and everything, I'll quickly go find out after this game what our semifinals are looking like, and bring it to you and Danny in the women's quarterfinal about to be streamed next.
We join here. It's potential game point for Ignite as they lead 14-8 against Nitro. Nitro put up a heck of a fight, but ultimately a little bit too late, too late as they work the disc up and force a turnover. A little bit of contact there on the under. Looks like this is going to be a foul call. I think this should probably stand as a foul. Both players going for that contested space, but I believe that the Nitro player was there first and just felt that offside contact from the Ignite player. Looks like it's going to be non-contested, and the disc is going to stay in the hands here of the Nitro player.
Lion was signaling at first that he was contesting it, but after some discussion, retracts that.
Max Hill is going to keep the disc, and just couldn't quite connect there with a sliding target, Ryan Wong. Now Alexander strolls casually up to the disc with a chance to end the game. Alexander has Aiden Ang in the backfield. Opts not to hit Ang. Instead, goes upfield. Right on the doorstep here is... Oh, couldn't quite connect there. Patrick Tenden had a chance to connect, but...
Personnel here on Ignite, we're seeing a lot of the depth being used right now. Some players we haven't seen very much. Probably a smart decision. Resting some players before the next match.
Immediate huck here. Alexander under the disc. He's going to be the one to come down with it. Collisions there. Everyone seems to be all right. No call. Alexander with the block. Alexander looking upfield. Goes to Aiden Ang. Ang looking upfield, and he shoots a low huck, and that's just tampered down by the wind. Probably not the look you're looking for. It's the same third huck to a deep receiver. Pretty difficult.
Kind of late, too. Seemed that he had already made the burst part of his cut deep.
Berg hits Eugene Liang. Liang back to Berg. Berg looking into the middle field. Goes for an around. Lovely shot there. It's in the hands of Liang. And Liang spikes a huck. And again, that's going to be intercepted by Alexander. Now Alexander looks into the midfield. Finds Ang. Ang goes for the swing around. Good spot there. Excuse me. Ang on the receiving end there from Tenden. Oh, that's a nice cut there. Connected with his target. Krotuz Deeb with it. Up to Tenben. Up to Ang. Ang looking upfield now. A little bit more patience. See if this Ignite squad can do it. Around to Alexander. See the hard cap goes. Alexander goes right to the doorstep here. It's in the hands of Cam Brown. Cam Brown hangs one up. It's going to sail for a while and drift out of bounds. Cam Brown just a little too eager there on the front goal line as he threw one directly into the teeth of the wind, and the wind took care of that one.
So the horn has gone. This will be the last point.
Berg brings the disc up to the goal line. Heavy cutting in the lanes there by Wong. Instead, goes backfield. Van Ramsdonk. To the far side here, it's Hill. Hill in that bucket hat on the far sideline. He's going to try to go to the backfield to Berg. Connects. Good little dump swing combination here, and it looks like there's some contact, either a ruled ankle or maybe a stomping up in the lanes.
So I was just going to say both teams kind of having a little bit of trouble with the wind that's picking up right now on their throws.
So we see Joshua Jang limp off the field. Looks like he's walking off in his own steam. It doesn't look too bad. Maybe just a quick little rollover. He's going to get attended to, and hopefully he'll be back for the rest of the tournament in the placement games here. So we see a little water getting dished out here as they decide who to sub in.
The observer's just seeing if Ignite would like to. Oh, sorry. Just Nitro getting their subs and then seeing if Ignite needs any.
Disc in the hands of John Leung. Looks like it's actually going to go back to Berg.
Observer staff just making sure everybody's in the right place.
At this point, Clay, this game is a formality. It will be over, and Ignite will be advancing to the semifinals. Only question now is it will be a 14-9 capped game, or it will be a 15-8 thorough defeat.
Right.
Young with it now. Into the middle. Hill couldn't quite bring it in. Now Ignite with the disc in the middle. It's Aiden Alexander.
Pretty deep vertical here from Ignite.
Big
Alexander with a great break shot.
Disc in the hands of Patrick Tenden. Inside throw on target, just a slightly behind Aiden Eng there. Pretty good looking shot, but just potentially caught Eng a little unaware as he reached back for that one.
That inside shoulder has been a really tough completion for teams.
Hill, good cutting in the lanes. Now he's going to be rewarded. Looks directly upfield. No real options cutting in the lane. So he goes to the backfield. Van Ramsdonk now. Van Ramsdonk covered by Eng. There's a call upfield.
In on 3.
Van Ramsdonk goes into the backfield. Young goes around. Liang. A little bit of time and space and another call. Looks like there's a pick call as they came through. Good spacing upfield for Nitro right now. Immediate upline shot there to Berg. Berg now with all kinds of momentum looking upfield. Breaks the force to the middle. Ryan Wong now flips to Van Ramsdonk. Van Ramsdonk to Hill. See if this Nitro team can keep doing their good end zone. Looks off the throw. Flips it into the backfield. John Leung now. John Leung. Little dish to Van Ramsdonk, who just can't quite hang on. Throw didn't have any pace on it and couldn't quite read it in the backfield.
Alexander slowing things down, even though he had a few players going deep. Lex the under.
Now it's Ben 10 up to Cam Brown. Cam Brown looking off an easy open side throw. Instead, opts for the middle to Alexander. Alexander floats this one, and it's brought down there. Aiden Eng gets up big for that one in the middle of the field. Now they're knocking on the door inside the brick. Alexander goes up line. Alexander reception. Has it right there. Has a chance. 2 cutters coming to the open side. Now he goes a little flip dad backhand, and Ignite closes the door on this game winning this one 15-8 over Vancouver Nitro. A thorough win for this Ottawa Ignite team, cementing themselves as a top 4 team this year, and will go to the semifinals to play the winner of Dino Titan.
Well, I think the story of this game, as you had said earlier, the better team, the team at least playing better, definitely the score represented their control, their execution. But I really want to commend Nitro on the energy they came out with at the beginning of this game, how they put it all out there the whole game for a second team and a new program to show up like this. Just that energy was pretty incredible. And I think they should all be really proud of how they did in this game, regardless of the result.
Yeah, and I think you saw, strong performances from number 12, Aaron McCauley, Braden Young commanding the backfield, Ivan Hu upfield making a good play, Sean Carino in the backfield. And then again, with a program that really focuses around its handler space and the give goes and the small ball, these guys are bound to excel in that system. And I'm interested to see if they're going to graduate up to the next team, potentially play Dino next year and slot into that system. So a lot of growth. Ultimately, Ignite wins this one 15-8. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us for this quarterfinal action. We'll be right back in less than half an hour with a women's quarterfinal matchup. And before we close out the broadcast, we're happy to give you an update from one of the other games.
I want to say it. It's exciting.
Take it away, Clay.
All right. I just got the message from our field reporter, Danny Proby. Right now, Team Manitoba winning on Universe versus Origine. A huge dub for them. Danny just made it over here, and she's a little speechless. And I'm going to pass the mic off to her so she can give us the updates from the end of that game.
Welcome to the tail end of this broadcast, Danny.
Hello. Very professional. One thing I do want to say, if you're a junior and you think you're in the end zone and you're not, don't put the disc on the ground. But that team actually ended up getting it back, and that was Manitoba. They ended up scoring on actually a nice around pass to win on Universe, but there were a couple turns in the final point. And make sure you watch the observers do the full score before you put it down. That's all I have to say.
All right. Thanks so much for tuning into this game. We will bring you all the other updates during the junior women's quarterfinal action that's coming up next with myself and Danny. But for this broadcast, Clay Howlett, myself, Kevin Underhill, thank you so much for joining. We'll be excited to be right back.